He has his headphones in. He's really focused. So we just came from the labs inside, and I noticed you kind of wanted to take me out here on this little ledge here. What are we seeing behind us?
So this is the Tennessee River right behind us. You'll have noticed that it runs right behind the Tennessee Aquarium as well. It travels downstream to us here. It goes way downstream from here into Alabama, like I mentioned, back into Tennessee, up through Kentucky. There it joins the Ohio River. From there it joins the Mississippi River, makes its way to the Gulf of Mexico out right next to New Orleans. I mention all this because this is part of what it means to be a freshwater scientist, is knowing what watershed you live in and knowing what other animals live in that watershed with you. One of the cool things about being a fish biologist is that if you handed me a fish, one of the first questions I would ask you is, where did you catch this? We know a lot about the animals just based on where they live. Rivers are different. You know, when you think about the ocean, we see the ocean as this one big thing, and of course fish can kind of swim around that whole big thing. In rivers, though, things get very separated. So fun fact about fish, 45% of all described species of fish live in freshwater. That number is staggering when you think about the fact that 97% of water on Earth is actually saltwater. So even though it's just a tiny, tiny fraction, 1/100th% of a fraction of water is on Earth in rivers and streams. And yet we have 45% of the fish species living in rivers and streams. And so how that happens is, like I mentioned, they're all kind of separated. And so you've got these rivers and you have a ridge between them. And so when you think about it, if you're a fish on one side of the ridge in one river system, you can't just hop over that mountaintop. Fish don't hop like that. So they have to swim all the way downstream and around through the valley and back up to get to the other side. And what that separation means is that we just have a lot of opportunities for things to differentiate and to ultimately speciate. And that's why we see so much diversity in fresh water. But it makes it really difficult if you're trying to protect all this different life. Because when we think about the landscape that we live in and that we work in, our model for conservation has been, let's just set aside a preserve, right? We can live all around here if we just set aside this big preserve in the middle of all of it and protects that land. Well, that doesn't work so good if you're trying to protect a river, because when we look at our rivers, they're like our circulatory system, right? They run throughout the whole landscape. There's all these different arteries and capillaries from there, the little tributary streams. But imagine if you had just had a heart attack, which I don't want to have happen, but you have a heart attack, right? And you're at the doctor's office. They're not going to say like, oh, wow, things look bad. But you know what? If we just focus on your right arm and we protect your right arm, we're going to have a reserve set aside and things are going to be okay. That's not the way it works. And so that model of conservation isn't going to work for protecting the network of rivers and streams that we have here. We have to do the really hard work, the lifestyle change. We have to change the way we get our water. We have to change the way we mow our lawn. We have to change the way that we interact with water every day, because most of the problems that happen for water pollution are actually happening on land and they're running off into the water. It's not something directly happening there. So that lifestyle change is what we're all about, is trying to figure out how do we behave across the entire watershed in a way that protects our rivers.
Wow. Cool. Thank you. Ridges
Neat
and
work.
rivers, like
Ridge
the exhibit.
Rivers, like the exhibit.
Like the exhibit.
Now
All
you
right.
got it.
He has his headphones in. He's really focused.
We're gonna finish in my favorite room. And
wow.
so, yeah. So this is our conference room. You'll notice that there is a pair of binoculars prominently placed on the table. You're welcome to borrow them. We saw an indigo bunting yesterday, just perched up in that tree. But it's really, it's really an incredible place to work, because we get this view of the Tennessee River that, I'm sure people are jealous of all the time, but I think it's really important to center us in our work and remind us of what it is that we're trying to protect.
Wow. No, I would love to work. Can I work here? You guys hiring?
Tell me about your skill set.
I don't have many.
Sell yourself. Sell yourself. Come on.
I like to talk, or let others talk.
Actually, listening is pretty important in conservation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So basically, I should be hired right there.
I think so.
Cool.
Yeah.
Hired.
Well, and I say that because one of the big projects we've just started is working with the Natural Resource Conservation Service, which is a branch of the U.S. Department of Agriculture. They work directly with landowners, primarily producers in the area, so farmers who are raising crops or livestock. And, you know, we don't think about this because food is so important to us, but farming and agriculture can be one of the biggest impacts on our water health. And so the more we can do to help farmers protect their land and keep the soil from eroding off into rivers, we get the soil on the farmland for good crops, and we also get healthy rivers. So to me, you're protecting the food and you're protecting the water, and it kind of all comes down to that. So that's a really important project we've just started up. Because of the work, the coalition that we've built in this region, we're bringing $10 million to this area for the next 5 years in order for those farmers to access even more funding to help them implement water quality improvement projects on their land. Part of all that is talking and selling. Part of it is also listening, though, and understanding, you know, what are the barriers? Why aren't you able to protect the water in your area? What is stopping you from doing that? And the more we hear from them and understand what their problems are, what they need help with, the better off we can be about actually implementing those improvement projects.
What about this work keeps you coming back?
I love animals. I grew up going to zoos and aquariums, and I had pets all my life, and I just felt incredibly connected to animals. When I was headed off to college, I was pretty sure I was going to be a marine biologist. I spent a semester in Australia, diving the Great Barrier Reef in Australia, studying marine biology. Yeah, but when I came back, I actually realized how much aquatic life there was in the United States. And no one was talking about it, and no one was working on it. And, you know, in addition to my passion for aquatic life, I have a huge passion for uphill battles. And that seemed like a pretty good one. So it was really a chance to raise attention and awareness and really raise funding for the incredible animals we have living in the southeastern United States. These are small species, by and large, that people have never heard of, but these are incredibly beautiful fish. You know, if you've ever gone diving in a coral reef, if you've ever gone birding somewhere and used those binoculars to see those colors on those birds that are in trees far, far away, you can understand the passion that we start to get for our darters here. And so during the spring, when they're all lit up and they are in breeding condition, and you see your orange tangerine darters and you see electric blues and you see these red bellies on small fish, you can start to understand why I get so fired up about it myself. Being at the Tennessee Aquarium, I've been here 17 years now. It's just an incredible place to work because we have this beautiful building that showcases and celebrates these animals every day for all of our visitors. But then we actually get to use these resources to go out and work with our community to protect them as well. So absolutely, this building itself is a dream to work here. You can just tell from the view how much fun we have. And it's just a really neat place to be.
Thank you so much for your time. This was absolutely fantastic. And you said so many great things about the Tennessee Aquarium and the work you do. And it's very obvious, you're right, to tell how much you're passionate about this. And I hope to one day be as passionate outwardly so it could be seen about what I do. I love what I do, and I hope people can see that. But thank you for your time again today. But I do have to go and take my passion outside into this Tennessee heat. I'm not prepared for it, but I'm going to go do that. So thank you again for your time.
Thank you. Loved having you here.
Thank you. All right, you guys, that was the end of my Tennessee Aquarium trip. I had so much fun here, saw so many cool species, had so many cool encounters, met so many awesome people. I have never been to Tennessee, and this was by far one of the best ways that I could be introduced to this state. What was your favorite encounter? Please let me know down below in the comments section. And where should I go next? Let me know also down below. Till next time, it's your boy Jungle Jordan. I'm out.